Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Jerred Moon. The Garage Gym Athlete Podcast is a result of my desire to build better humans, unequivocal coaches, and autonomous athletes. I've spent the last several years obsessing over program design, nutrition, and every other way you can optimize human performance. This podcast distills the latest scientific research with what I've learned and blends it with the not-so-scientific field of mental toughness. We are here to build you into a dangerously effective athlete. If you enjoy this podcast, you can find out more about our training at garagegymathlete.com. And if you want to pursue more into the field of coaching and programming, head to endof3fitness.com. Thanks for listening. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. Jerred Moon here with Joe Courtney. Joe, how's it going?
Pretty great, Jerred. How are you?
I'm good because today we're here with Adam Robinson. How you doing, man?
I'm good. Very good, sir.
Yeah, let's I was just telling you before, I'm excited to have this conversation to talk to you a little bit more because I already know things. That's all I'll say. I know things. So let's get into it, Adam. Basic intro, who you are, what you do, how you train, and where you're from, all those good things.
Got it. All right. So right now I live in Louisville, Kentucky, where the heat and humidity is awful. And I grew up in Greenville, South Carolina. I made it to where I live now because almost 26 years ago, I met this beautiful girl on the beach right after graduating from high school who just happened to be from Louisville, Kentucky. And all these years and 3 kids later, here I am. So as far as my work goes, I've been a serial entrepreneur for the last 24 years. I've done about everything you can imagine. I've made money, I've lost money, I've gone bankrupt, built, sold, acquired, partnerships, everything you can imagine. And so today, I own multiple companies still. My primary work is with Strategex, where I'm a fractional chief marketing officer for a variety of small businesses. I'm also the director of Startup Grind here in Louisville, so really engaged in the startup community. I also am working on a project called Better Today, which is a community of folks that are just working to get better every day, and accountability groups are a big part of that. And then I'm a partner in a couple of other things. So my whole life mission, guys, can be boiled down to this: helping people get from where they are to where they want to be. And it resonates so much as well with what you guys are doing with the Garage Gym Athlete community. And one of the reasons why I'm so attractive and drawn to what you guys are doing. So that's just kind of an overall background perspective about what I do and a little bit of where I come from.
That's awesome, man. You have a lot going on. And, just as an entrepreneur myself, I know all of that can be crazy. More than one company is always a challenge too. So you're crushing it from my perspective already. And we
No wonder you want someone to program for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Let us handle that. Right. So what is your garage gym setup?
Yeah, great question. So we actually moved to a new home last April, and we'd outgrown our previous home. And prior to that, I'd been introduced to your programming, but had not signed up yet. And I always knew that I wanted a garage gym because I started to calculate the amount of time I was spending driving back and forth to the YMCA. And at that point, it was like 25 minutes each way. So I started calculating this, and I'm like, even if I have a basic setup, then this is going to save me money within a couple of years. I actually did a whole financial analysis and presented it to my wife for in the process of when we moved to the new house, why the garage should be a garage gym. We don't need it for cars and all that. So
that's awesome.
So anyway, when we moved to the house, it was already preordained, I guess, that the garage is a garage gym. And so we went through the process of getting everything. We've got a Rogue Monster Light rack. We've got one barbell. We've got about 450 pounds worth of bumper plates. Now, there's a story around the bumper plates. When we ordered our equipment, it was at the height of pandemic, and you could not get anything that was out there. So I searched high and low for plates. I was okay with paying a little bit more because my oldest son's a varsity football player. The kid's a beast. It's just crazy how strong Braden is. So I wanted to make sure he was able to continue to train. So I found some plates from Eleco. I think I'm saying it right.
Yeah.
And I was paying a premium for them, and I knew that. Well, we were super excited when the plates came in, but we started opening them up and we're like, where's the other half of the plates? Because they were just singles. And I went back and looked, and that's all I ordered. And the price that I paid for just those singles is what I should have paid for a whole set. So that's a hard lesson that I learned on
Man.
that one. So right now we've got a couple kettlebells in there. We've got an incline bench. We got a box, a jump box. We don't have any cardio equipment right now. I really enjoy running. So none of that. The next thing that is going to be purchased for the gym is going to be a rower. So I'll probably likely be doing that this fall. So nothing too fancy, but for as far as what we need, it's great. We do have some extensions for the rig. We got the dip bar, so a matador. We got rings. I don't use the matador very much anymore because I used to be afraid of doing the ring dips. Now I'm not afraid of them. And in fact, I just PR'd this time. I did 10 for this cycle, which I never thought I was going to be able to do. So we've got enough to keep us busy. So
That's awesome. That's really awesome. And yeah, that you may have went with the most expensive equipment supplier out there. I think
I did.
they're dropping the $2,000 barbells and everything else over there. But I've made that mistake, just much smaller scale. I did it with knee sleeves. I was like, this has got to be the price of 2 knee sleeves, and then one shows up, and I was like, why I wanted 2 knee sleeves,
Who orders
not
one?
just yeah. I was like, why would I want 1 knee sleeve? But yeah, that's great, man. So the big reason behind starting the garage gym sounds like you just felt like you're wasting time with a commute. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. And at the end of the day, money as well, because I'm one that looks at things from a long-term perspective. But plus, there is nothing like waking up at 4:30 in the morning, literally walking 10 feet to my gym. I can work out and then I'm done. And the convenience of our entire family just to go out there and do it. And then another unintended consequence is, like I said, my oldest son plays football. My middle son is an athlete as well. Their friends like coming over and hanging out and working out at our house. So it's been much more than just a place for me to work out. My entire family does it. And here's the thing that's really cool. We were blessed with a third kiddo. So my oldest is almost 17, my middle's 15. And then there's Joshy, who will be 6 here in just a couple of weeks. This kid is a working out fiend. He sees us all working out. Our entire family does it. And I've got a feeling that Josh is probably going to be the most fit and just athletic of all of us because it's all he's seen growing up with. So while money and time was a core element, what I can tell you is that investment has turned in to be way more than what I ever could have thought or imagined that it would have been. It goes way beyond just having some workout equipment near to my house.
That's huge. Yeah, I mean that's a big reason I do what we do. I joke with my boys all the time. They're both fairly athletic. They're 9 and 6, but we have a 3-year-old daughter, and I'm like, she's gonna be better than both of you at sports and all this stuff. And they're like, no, she's not. I'm like, look at her, she's trying harder because she'll get on the treadmill and she'll like run until she like can't go anymore and stuff. So it's definitely fun to get the family involved in fitness. But I want to flip it to you, man. I know that you've been incredibly consistent. And I'd love to hear, maybe start with some of your accomplishments. I know it can be hard to kind of brag on ourselves at times, but I would love to hear your story, over, I mean, you could take us back as far as you need, but maybe even just over the last year, what you've been able to do.
Sure. Awesome. Well, let me go back a little bit further. So you guys may be able to see behind me for those of you watching on YouTube. So there's a couple of pictures of me in my martial arts gis and a couple of medals back there. So my athletic career started when I was 5 years old in martial arts. Martial arts has been a huge part of my career. I've owned a couple of martial arts schools, done a lot of things in that. And I was a world champion fighter in my younger days, multiple time national champion, whole story behind that. So what happened after I sold my second martial arts school, got busy with some other things? Well, the weight started packing on a lot. And right before my 40th birthday, I looked in the mirror and I was like, oh my goodness gracious. That was when I was close to 300 pounds, the heaviest I have ever been, fit, unhealthy, and all that. And that started the slow journey to where I am now. Now, what's been interesting about this, and even listening to Kyle talk about kind of his journey with you and things like that in the most recent podcast, mine was very similar. There's been a lot of fits and starts. It started with the keto thing, got really focused on that. Didn't completely change my lifestyle, but started dabbling in it. And then it started working out just the way I'd always had when I was younger. But what became really interesting about that is I lost a little bit of weight initially and I got stronger and all that, but then nothing really changed, right? If anything, I gained weight because I was still eating poorly and all that. So I got really, really busy again going into 2019 and then coming into the pandemic and moving to the new house. I'm like, okay, I've really got to get help in doing something where people are experts in their field. I need to lean on them and just trust the process. And I don't even remember how I first found out about Garage Gym Athlete. I think it was from a Facebook ad, actually. So I clicked on it, started exploring, and I'm like, man, this is great. And that was about the entire time, or about the time when I was looking at the possibility of having an actual garage gym. So the timing on that was just absolutely perfect. So I've been on Hard to Kill this entire time. I think I signed up late April last year, 2020. So I've been in the community for a little bit more than a year, just re-up for another year. And it's been Hard to Kill the entire way. And the improvements that I've made over this past 12 months have been unbelievable. And it's been the fusion of the programming, trusting the process, and seeing me I'm 44, I just turned 44 in May, being able to do things that I never thought was possible. So great example. When I started, I could maybe do one pull-up, maybe depending on how you want to count that. Well, this cycle, I just did 6. And I think part of that is the fact that I'm almost 50 pounds lighter than I was when I started a year ago. That's pretty big. It's going to add to that. But just having that confidence there. So that's been a big boost from that standpoint. Throughout this year, almost every measure has improved in terms of my capabilities to do things. Now, one thing that has backed off a little bit has been my back squat, but here's what your community taught me. It's all about the quality of the rep, not the weight on the back. So the first cycle we went through, I put 405 on my back and it was great. I posted the video in the community and I was like, man, that's great effort, but you probably want to go a little bit deeper in that squat. And at first I was kind of pissed off about it. I was like, man, come on, guys. But then when I was more open to doing it right and that started to change, I'm like, you know what? They're right. I am not doing that. So I literally went back and completely retooled my squat. And my squat is lower now. In fact, this cycle, um, I, I dropped it down to about 345 on the last cycle, but I was even down further this time. And there's a couple of reasons for that. But and I'm perfectly okay with that, right? So, but this cycle, all of my body weight measures have improved, right? So from the pull-ups to doing burpees, I could not do a burpee this time last year. I just did the 25 burpee test in a minute 23. For a big guy like me, I was so happy with that. And I think that's competitor level too. I couldn't believe I did that. Front leaning rest is up. Broad jump, I got a new PR by an inch. So all these things that are really athletic performance related have increased in ways that I never could have imagined. And the thing I love about your all's programming as well is it encourages you to do things you would not normally do on your own. Like if this was just me, it'd be chest on Monday, chest and triceps, maybe some shoulders, and then Tuesdays is going to be back day or whatever. And so the way you all program forces folks out of their comfort zone and to level up in ways that they would not have done that on their own. So now one of the things I'm probably most proud of, and in the Garage Gym Athlete app, this is listed as a PR, but it's not a Fit Week thing yet. I ran a mile in 7:08, and I am so proud of this. And this was a couple weeks ago. I actually posted this in the community when I wasn't meaning to. It was just something that was programmed, And I was just firing on all cylinders that day. I never thought I'd run a mile that fast. I just never thought I would. So eventually I'm going to get sub 7. But I attribute so much of that just to the holistic programming. So I can't say enough about the programming. And what I would encourage everybody to listen, who's listening to this, is that listen, the programming is solid. It's worked for me. It's worked for hundreds of other people. All you've got to do is look in the community and you'll see that. But the thing is, you've got to do the work. And unfortunately, I didn't really learn this lesson really well until my late 30s, going into my 40s. Programming's great, ideas are great, but you got to do the work. And even as you all talked about in the most recent podcast, you got to change your lifestyle. You got to be willing to get uncomfortable and do what's necessary to get to where you want. So I know I've kind of rambled there, but it just gives a big picture of how much what you guys have done from a programming perspective, support perspective, the podcast, the communities, how it's literally changed my life in so many ways.
That's awesome, man. I knew I could just kind of see, like I follow along. I'm pretty active in the Facebook group, and I could just see you're posting, which first off, thank you for doing that. And I also want to encourage anybody else in the community to post your journey and in the process. We like to celebrate PRs, but that's a very small thing about the community. We're doing that once every 12 weeks. We love to see the journey and what people are doing and what Adam has done. I've just been kind of keeping tabs on and following, and I'm just like super impressed. And then once you got on the calendar, I was really excited, to be able to talk to you, because you have done a lot. And I think what you're saying is that implementation piece is the biggest thing, because I have seen people who either want to write their own programs and they're getting really technical, or they keep maybe this is it, but their test for that programming is only about 10 days before they're doing something else or changing it. And it's like, it takes so much longer to really find out. And I think that lesson that you just said, that it took you a long time to learn, is one that if everyone could embrace, they would make a lot more progress.
Yeah, I mean, you joined a year ago, and now you're hitting every single metric. I mean, even though your squat number weight didn't go up, mechanically it's better, and then body weight's better, power, speed, endurance, everything. And it just shows that it takes time. You can't do these 8-week things and think you're going to change your life. It's you have to build it over time, and then now everything is improving, and you can build on everything at once. So I think it's fantastic to see the improvement all around, and just that you were patient as well.
And that squat thing, I went through the same exact thing, like just further back. There was a time where I was repping 405, like doing sets of 405 for 8 reps, whatever. But the form quality was terrible, and I wasn't going deep enough, and it was just bad. And I got called out, not by the community, by a training partner at the time, and he's like, "Dude, it's not like you gotta get better than this." And so I did, and it backed me down. I think I ended up back down to like 320, 330 or something, which is a huge ego hit for your max to be that. And you're repping like 100 pounds more, or you could for one or two reps. And so a retooling phase is very painful. And I'm really just saying this for the community, because some people might need to do it, and you did it. But it's just going to pay off, like from a injury prevention and longevity standpoint. Is just so much better to do things right. It's awesome, man. A lot of good information you shared there, and I just want to hit on some of those points for the community. But ultimately, how do you like training in your garage?
I love it. It is my go-to place. I'm really busy. I've got a lot of hectic schedules and things like that. So when I step into that garage gym, it is fantastic. It is my place for me. I can tune out the world for that 60 minutes or whatever I'm doing, running out. It's just great. It's my time, and I would not trade it for the world. I will never go back to working out in a gym or anything like that, just because of the convenience and what it gives me from that standpoint. So I absolutely love it. Now, I do need to pretty up my gym a little bit. So the house we bought was an older home, and it's got this nasty, like snot green paint. Whoever painted the inside of that garage that color, I have no idea. So over the next year, I actually do want to make the space a little bit more of my own. Of course, I've got to get a Garage Gym Athlete banner to hang up in there. And that's one of the reasons I haven't done a garage gym tour yet, just because what we got is so ugly. But I do want to do some things to outfit it a little bit more over the next year. So
That's like a chicken and the egg thing. Because if you do the tour, we'll send you a banner for free. But you want to do the tour with a banner, so I get it. It's yeah, that's
yeah, it was
awesome.
probably the painting thing that's the bigger one,
Yeah.
because trust me, this green that's on there, I have no idea who picked that nor what they were thinking.
I will say, once you do those kind of things, it starts to make it feel like a more, I guess,
Mhm.
professional space, and
Yep.
you just feel differently about it at that point.
Sure.
All right, man. Well, let's get into some of these fun questions. What's the hardest workout you've ever done?
I was thinking about that this morning, and the one that I remember being most painful is Stairway to Heaven. That is one of those that's just, it's a mental grind. There's no breaks, right? It's just step, 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 step. And that one is brutal for me.
Yeah, that is it's an awful one.
100%.
Uh, all right. In your opinion, what's the best activity for building mental toughness?
Burpees.
Yeah, and just any number of burpees. I, I've trained with a lot of people, and I'm always trying to give tips on the burpee, on like, because some people just hate them. It's not even like oh, like I just don't like doing. It's like an actual hatred some people have for that
Yeah.
movement, to where they're like, no, I won't. I'm not going to do it. Like I'll do anything else. I'm not going to do that. But you're right. If you can just embrace that movement, there really is, like, I give tips, but there's nothing that makes it better. It's getting
Nope.
up off the floor over and over again, and it's difficult.
There was like a specific cycle we did a couple of years. I think it was back in like 2017, way back then. And there was some sort of workout you programmed, Jared, that had to do with something. It was almost like a burpee breathing ladder type thing. Like you have your
Mm,
burpees and you have your set
yeah.
rest. And I remember doing that, and I was just like, "Crap! I am like hyperventilating when I'm doing my burpees. I have to figure this out." So that was a moment where I actually like realized that when I hit the ground on burpees, I don't just like and like completely lose my breath, because that's what I was doing. I need to actually control my breathing through it, and that like helped tremendously. So I still don't like them, but I got a lot better at them just with like something like that, with the breathing, and then some like hip mobility, actually being able to pull my legs up and not like land on my toes. Yeah.
Awful stuff. All right. If you only have one piece of equipment to train with for the rest of your life, what would it be?
That's a tough one. I was thinking about that one too, but I would go with a barbell. There's so many things you can do with a barbell. It's so versatile. That would be the one thing I would want to make sure I've always got.
So what is it, something that you want to add to your gym space? Maybe matching bumpers. Yeah, we know, but after that,
Did you get the matching bumpers, by the way? Did you end up buying the other half?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, okay.
absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, very
Well,
yeah.
you have to.
oh yeah.
Well,
So
you don't
let's,
have to. You could like,
Oh,
you know what,
I
screw
have
that.
to.
yeah.
Might have
No,
to
yeah,
match.
no, I'm too, no, that would have bugged the snot out of me. But I don't think any were available at that time either, right?
Yeah.
And so we were in a crazy period where Braden was preparing for the upcoming football season and he needed the weight. So now my wife to this day still does not know how much money I spent on those bumpers. There's like 3 people who know. So, and I'm planning to keep it that way. But as far as like what piece of equipment is coming next, definitely it's going to be a rower. That's next that's there. After that, I'm not sure. I'm thinking, oh, what are they called? Those glute machines, GMBs or
GHD.
whatever. Yes. So those intrigue me for whatever reason. But the rower is definitely top of the list.
Yeah, and that's a good machine. That was my only cardio machine for like, I don't know, 8 years, and it does the job. All right, what is the best advice you have for all the garage gym athletes out there listening right now?
Embrace the process, and you've got to do the work day in and day out. Just trust it. In so many areas of our lives, we've got to turn to the folks who are experts in their field. And that's one of the reasons why I turn to you all. I do not question the programming at all. I just look at the app. This is what I'm going to do. This is my assignment. And I'm just going to go get it done. And you're only going to get the results you want if you dig in, do the work every single day, period. That's it. I mean, it's Nothing sexy about it, nothing fun about it. You just got to trust the process and do the work.
That's awesome, Adam. And it's been a blast chatting. I think you've done a phenomenal job, and keep posting in the community as we go, into another year of training with you. And I'm excited about what you've seen, what you've done, what I've seen you do, and your consistency and commitment to the program. It's like the ideal athlete. This is what we want to see: people sticking to things, sharing their progress, inspiring others. And that's exactly what you're doing, man. So I'm really glad to have you as part of the community, and thanks for sharing your time with us today.
You're welcome. Well, thanks for being here, and very honored to be a part of the community. You guys keep doing what you're doing, because not only has it changed my life, but there's a cascading effect. People have seen what has happened in my life, and it's extended to others. And I know that this is happening in countless other lives because of the community. So thank you all from the bottom of my heart, and you guys keep doing great things.
Of course, man.
Thanks for listening to the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. If you want to learn more, go to garagegymathlete.com. You can learn about our training. Let us send you a copy of our book, The Garage Gym Athlete, or you can even get featured on the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. Thanks for listening.